Hello, good evening to all. Good evening, Godwin.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Ritika, Amar, everyone turn on the camera. Then we can start our
Good
class.
evening.
Good
Good
evening, good
evening.
evening, good evening. Turn on the camera, please. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Everyone turn on the camera. So, yes, we did yesterday digestive system. Do you have any doubt? Anybody? Any doubt, guys? Ritika, you saw yesterday video?
No, sir, I did not get time.
Then,
Sir, I'll watch after the class.
okay. Yes, Godwin has tomorrow exam. Yes, Godwin. So, do you have any doubt regarding your exam?
Sir,
Yes, Godwin.
sir, I only have doubt on that glucose, that part, respiration.
Respiration, no? So, we are doing respiration today only.
Yes, sir.
This part, no? This part you're saying, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, today only we are doing it. So, it will be clear now. Okay. So, we'll read from here and then we'll quickly do the respiration part so that we will complete it. Okay. Yeah, read this. Yeah, Amar, please read it from here.
So
So,
the small
yesterday we
intestine.
Yeah. Yesterday we learned that the long intestine of herbivorous is no, sorry, small intestine of a herbivorous is longer than the carnivorous animals because herbivorous animals eat grass and plants usually have cellulose in their cells as a cell wall, and it takes time to digest. That's why the herbivorous has long intestine. Yeah, we'll read this. Who will read? Amber, quickly read this.
Yes. The small intestine is the site of the complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It receives the secretion of the liver and the pancreas for this purpose. The food coming from the stomach is acidic and has to be made alkaline for the pancreatic enzymes to act. Bile juice from the liver accomplish this in addition to acting on fats. Fats are present in the
Okay,
intestine.
so you can see this yesterday when we did that chart. In that chart, we got that the food from the stomach is acidic. So from alkaline, we have bile juice. Sorry, bile juice makes the food alkalinic when the food is coming from the stomach to the small intestine. So bile juice from this liver accomplish this. What accomplish? Then it make the acidic food into alkalinic food, and it add on fat also. Fat. And I told you like for big globules, big chunks of fat globules will be broken down by the bile juice to convert it into small fat globules. Now they can ask you one question that why the small globules are converted, like the big globules are converted into small globules. So that the small fat globules have larger surface area. Because of that, the fat enzyme bracket में lipase can easily act on it. Are you getting this? Okay. Like the question is why the large fat globules are converted into the small fat globules. Okay. The answer of this is that small fat globules have larger surface area as compared to the big fat globules. That is why the lipase enzyme can easily work on the small fat globules. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Hmm? So
Yes, sir.
lipase enzyme can easily work on the small fat globules. Okay. Yeah, read this.
Yes. Fats are present in the intestine in the form of large globules, which makes it difficult for enzymes to act on them. Bile salt breaks them into smaller globules, increasing the efficiency of enzyme action. This is similar to impulsifying action of soap on dirt that we have learned about in chapter 4. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which contains enzymes like trypsin for digesting proteins and lipase,
Lipase.
lipase for breaking down
Underline this, okay? Hmm.
lipase for breaking down emulsified fats. The walls of
Hmm.
the small intestine contains glands which secrete intestinal juice. The enzymes present in it finally convert the proteins to amino acids, complex
Hmm.
carbohydrates into glucose, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol.
Yeah.
Also,
So this is how it converted. Yeah. Next part.
yes, sir. Digested food is taken up by the walls of the intestine. The inner lining of the small intestine has numerous finger-like projections called villi, which increases the surface area for absorption. The villi are richly supplied with blood vessels, which take the absorbed food into each and every cell of the body, where it is utilized for obtaining energy, building up new tissues, and the repair of old tissue. The
Hmm.
unabsorbed food is sent into the large intestine where its wall absorb more water from this material. The rest of the material is removed from the body via the anus. The exit of this waste material is regulated by the anal sphincter.
Sphincter. Sphincter. Sphincter. Okay. Are you getting this? Yes or no?
Yes,
Okay. Now read this quickly.
dental caries.
Yeah.
Dental caries or tooth decay causes gradual softening of enamel and dentine. It begins when bacteria acting on sugars produce acids that softens or demineralizes the enamel. Masses of bacteria cells together with food particles stick to the teeth to form dental plaque. Saliva cannot reach the tooth surface to neutralize the acid as plaque covers the teeth. Brushing the teeth after eating removes the plaque before the bacteria produces acids. If untreated, microorganisms may invade the pulp, causing inflammation and infection.
So we know that the sugar, like for example, if you will eat sugar a lot, so you need a good brush. You need to good. You need to do a good brush to your teeth. Why? What's the reason behind it? Because sugar, if it is like we know that sugar is, it maybe go the place where the saliva cannot reach in our teeth. Okay, if the sugar is not converted or if it is not alkaline, the sugar will become acidic. And that acidic will basically react with the teeth surface, which is made up of enamel, and it will degrade that enamel. Okay, the bacteria will degrade. We know cavity. The cavity happens like that only. That sugar eating bacteria cause the acidic medium in our mouth. It create a acidic medium in our mouth that cause the degradation of enamel, and because of that our mouth get a bad odor also. Okay, get bad odor also, and the sensitivity problem also started with that. Which problem? Sensitivity. Are you getting this? So yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, now we will learn about the respiration. So, first of all, respiration and breathing both are different. Okay, both are different. What do you mean by breathing? Breathing is just taking oxygen in and oxygen out. That is for us breathing. Okay, That is breathing. Now, what is respiration? Respiration is like a big umbrella. Okay. Under this, breathing comes. Okay. When we take oxygen in, that oxygen is transported by the blood to the cells. Okay. So that the digested food, we digested the food. Okay, the digested food, when it will also go into the cell, it has oxygen also. So, in the presence of oxygen, the glucose that we got it by the digestion, oxygen, glucose, it will combine, it will break in the presence of oxygen. It gives carbon dioxide, it gives energy in the form of, which is stored in the form of ATP. Okay, so the carbon dioxide, when it is formed by the breaking down of glucose, it will again go to the out of the body. This whole thing is called as respiration. Okay. So what is the definition of respiration? Respiration is breaking down of glucose in the presence of oxygen so that we can get energy out of it, and the carbon dioxide as a byproduct is called as respiration. But what we get respiration in respiration? We get energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. What is ATP? Like for example, if I will measure the length of my room, it may be 4 meter, 8 meter. Meter is the unit na, in which I am measuring my length of the room. In the same way, if you want to measure the energy, we use ATP as a unit. Adenosine triphosphate, 4 ATP, 48 ATP, 92 ATP. That. Are you getting this? Say yes or
Yes.
no? Okay. So now respiration is basically two types. So what is respiration? Breaking down of glucose. Simple as that. Breaking down of sugar or breaking down of glucose is called as respiration. Okay. Now, respiration happens in two ways. Okay. This, for example, this is respiration. Respiration happens in two ways. Mummy. Okay. So now respiration are of two types. First is when breaking down of glucose happen in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen. So if it is happen in the presence of oxygen, it is called as aerobic respiration. Okay. What is aerobic respiration? Aerobic, from the word itself, we can see this air. Air means oxygen. Dic means breaking down. So breaking down of glucose in the presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration. What it is called? It is called as aerobic
Yes,
respiration.
sir.
Are you getting this? Say yes or no?
Yes.
Godwin? Okay.
Yes,
N- Now, what is like if the respiration happen in the absence of oxygen? If respiration happens in the absence of oxygen, then this case is called as anaerobic respiration. An means no, aerobic means air. So there is no air is there. Okay. Sometimes we have one more thing, lack of oxygen. If oxygen is not there, lack of oxygen is there, then also it is considered as anaerobic respiration. So what is anaerobic respiration? When the breaking down of glucose happen in the absence or in the lack of oxygen, it is called as anaerobic respiration. Are you getting this? Say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So quickly make this, and this is basically the present sign. Okay. This is basically what? It's present. I usually make it like this. This is presence. Okay. And this is absence. So write it down under aerobic, write it down. Under the aerobic, write it down. When breaking down of glucose, quickly write it down. When breaking down of glucose happens, when breaking down of glucose happens in the presence of oxygen, in the presence of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. Is called aerobic respiration. Okay. And under anaerobic respiration, write it down. If respiration occurs, if breaking down of glucose occurs, if breaking down of glucose occurs in the absence of, or in the absence of, in the absence or in the absence or lack of oxygen, lack of oxygen, it is called as anaerobic respiration. It is called as anaerobic respiration.
So breaking down
Then
of
under,
glucose.
yeah, breaking down of glucose in the absence of oxygen or lack of oxygen. Then write it down under the aerobic respiration. Under the aerobic respiration, write it down here. Okay. The byproducts of aerobic respirations are, the byproducts of aerobic respirations are carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, water, water, and ATP. 38 ATP, right? 38 ATP. 38 ATP.
Sir, can you
So
repeat?
yeah, the byproducts of aerobic respirations are carbon dioxide, water, and 38 ATP. Then under the anaerobic, make it two ways like this, and write first absence of oxygen, and the second one is lack of oxygen.
The byproducts of anaerobic.
No, just like you wrote this thing,
Yes.
then on the right side, and like when you're writing anaerobic, then make it two ways like this. First write absence of oxygen, and then second write lack of oxygen. Make two lines like this. Then under the absence of oxygen, write it down. The byproduct of absence of oxygen are, the byproduct of absence of oxygen are ethanol, ethanol, carbon dioxide, ethanol, carbon dioxide, and 2 ATP. 2 ATP. Then under the lack of oxygen, write it down. The byproduct of lack of oxygen are the byproduct of lack of oxygen are lactic acid, lactic acid plus 2 ATP plus 2 ATP. Everyone got this? Godwin, are you with me?
Sir, I got it.
गीतिका गीतिका समझ में आ रहा है बेटा? नहीं आ रहा?
एक बार ये लैक ऑफ ऑक्सीजन फिर से रिपीट करोगे, मुझे सुनाई नहीं।
लैक ऑफ ऑक्सीजन के नीचे लिखना लैक्टिक एसिड. Lactic acid means the byproduct of lack of oxygen is lactic acid plus 2 ATP plus 2 ATP. Okay. Then
Okay.
write it down. But again, under the aerobic, write it down. Write it down. Large amount of energy is formed. Large amount of energy is formed. Yeah, large amount of energy is released. Write it down. Large amount of energy is released. And then under this, write it down. Only like you wrote a large amount of energy is released in bracket. Write 38 ATP. In bracket, write 38 ATP.
The 38 ATPs are produced at a single time of respiration.
Yeah, one glucose when it will break down,
Huh?
38 ATP will form.
Okay.
In this also, one glucose will break down, only 2 ATP will form. In this also, when one glucose is formed, then 2 ATP is formed. It's like that. Okay. Then write it down. Small energy is released. Under the anaerobic, write it down. Small energy is released. Bracket in the bracket, write 2 ATP. In the bracket, write 2 ATP. Then under the aerobic respiration, write example. Example. Most of the plants and animal cells. Example. Most of animal and plant cells. Then under the absence of oxygen, write it down. Example, yeast. Example, yeast. Then under the lack of oxygen, write it down. Muscle cells of human. Muscle cells of human. Muscle cells of human. Now we will learn this, that how this respiration occurs. Are you with me, guys? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Everyone got this?
Yes,
Gordon
sir.
didn't get it? So first process, okay, what happens that we have glucose. Like glucose is C6H12O6.
Oh,
So basically what happens when it is in the presence of oxygen, it will create CO2 plus H2O plus 38 amount of ATP. Yes, when
yes.
in the presence of oxygen. So basically, how this thing happen? Okay, now this glucose is basically 6 carbon molecule. Yes, it is 6 carbon molecule. Okay, 6 carbon molecule. Okay, so I will write glucose. Under this, I will write 6 carbon molecule. Okay, it will break into pyruvate. Pyruvate. What is spelling of pyruvate?
Sir, can I explain the first one?
Say it again, beta.
Sir, can I explain the first one?
Yeah, just give me a second. Oh, this is pyruvate, which is three carbon molecule. Yes. So basically, this is glucose. Yes, this is six carbon molecule because this C has six, na? So I wrote six carbon molecule, and in the presence of oxygen, when it is break down, it will create carbon dioxide, water, and 38 ATP, which is 38 adenosine triphosphate. Got it? Okay. So now we are learning it that how this happened. Okay. So that this okay. Now listen. Okay, what happened that when glucose, okay, it is break down into three carbon molecule, which is called as pyruvate. Okay, glucose is break down into three carbon molecule, which is called as pyruvate, and this thing is called as glycolysis. What it is called?
Glycolysis.
So this six carbon molecule, which is called as glucose, it will converted into the three carbon molecule, which is this process is called as glycolysis. What it is called? It is called as glycolysis, and this thing happens in the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm of the cell. Means breaking down of glucose into pyruvate, it happens into the cytoplasm. Are you getting this? Yes or no?
The glycolysis with the process.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
glycolysis means glyco means glucose, lysis means breaking down. So breaking down of glucose is called as glycolysis.
साइटोप्लाज्म में होता है सेल के.
Yeah, it is thing. Six carbon to three carbon, it happens into the glycolysis. So I will make this thing again. So I will write it down. So first is we have glucose. Okay. And this glucose, which is made up of six carbon, okay, it will convert into pyruvate, which is three carbon, and this thing happen in where in the cytoplasm. This thing happen in the cytoplasm. Okay. Now, what will happen? That this basically this this will have we are making three parts. Okay, we are making three parts. First, in the absence of oxygen, if this pyruvate will break, if this pyruvate will break in the absence of oxygen, and if this pyruvate break in the lack of oxygen. Okay, so the first one is in the presence of oxygen. So if this pyruvate breaks in the presence of oxygen, now this thing, the pyruvate breaking is happen in the mitochondria. Okay, till pyruvate, it is in the cytoplasm. Till pyruvate, it is in the cytoplasm. But after pyruvate, now it is both. This pyruvate will go into the mitochondria. Now in mitochondria pyruvate will. Are you getting this? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So this oxygen, if the pyruvate break in the presence of oxygen, then you know what will happen. Carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide plus water plus 38 ATP will form. If this pyruvate break in the presence of. Are you getting this? Say
Sir,
yes or no.
more 38 ATP will be made.
Huh?
More 38 ATP will be made.
No, total 38 ATP.
No, in the process of the breaking down of glucose, 38 ATP are made. Now more 38 ATP will be made.
No, this is the whole process of breaking down of glucose. Now, this is the total process of breaking down of glucose.
Okay.
Means this is one glucose molecule, and now it is breaking and it is creating 38 glucose, the total part we are talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Godwin, are you with me? Say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, if it is happen in the absence of oxygen, means if pyruvate is breaking down in the absence of oxygen, which happen in the yeast, which happen basically in the yeast, okay, then you know what will happen. Ethanol plus ethanol, which is alcohol, like daru, okay, ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus 2 ATP will form. If pyruvate breaks down in the absence of oxygen, which is basically in the yeast, ethanol and carbon dioxide and ATP is formed. So basically, you know, do you know how to make grape juice, grape wine? So this is one time I made the grape wine, which is grape alcohol also, which is in Hindi it is called as desi daru. Okay. So what happened that because I want to try it may be nearly COVID time. Okay. So what I did, I took grape juice. Now grape juice means it's sugar. Okay. So I took grape juice and then I blend it and I extract the juice and then I boil some sugary water and put it into this and put yeast into it. Put yeast into it. So now sugar is there. So sugar is basically glucose, na? Sugar is basically glucose,
Yes.
and that glucose in the yeast broken down in the absence of oxygen. Then you know what happened? This happened. Ethanol happened. And then Joom barabar Joom. So basically, this ethanol is basically the production of alcohol. So in the production of alcohol, they put ethanol into it. In the production of bread, they put yeast into it so that carbon dioxide can form. Carbon dioxide make the bread fluffy. Are you getting this, Godwin? Say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in the lack of oxygen, the third part is lack of oxygen. Okay. So if I will talk about where in the human muscle cell, in the human muscle cell. So this will create lactic acid, lactic acid plus 280. Lactic acid plus 280. And you know, sometimes when we do a lot of exercise or lot of running, sometimes we have cramps like our leg will become one like and we have to say then you have to do straight like that. Okay, so that cramps is because of this formation lactic acid, because we did lots of exercise. Now lots of exercise means that our lungs and heartbeat will be very fast, and like the muscle cells which need oxygen, it is not getting oxygen on time. Okay, because every muscle cells needs oxygen right now because it's burning. Okay, so the oxygen, it is not coming in the muscle cells properly, That is why the lactic acid is formed, and the lactic acid, because of the lactic acid, it result in the formation of cramps.
Sir, lactic acid this is plus 3 ATP, right?
Not 2 ATP. Lactic acid plus 2 ATP. Got it, Corbin? So basically, the cramps is because of the formation of lactic acid. They can ask you this question that why the cramps occurs when we do a aggressive exercise. So the answer of that is because of the cramps.
Because of the lactic acid.
Because of the lactic acid. Sorry. Got it, everyone?
Yes.
Now quickly make this. Quickly make this, guys.
Done.
Done, everyone? Now
No,
we'll
sir.
read this. Okay. Quickly make this. Ritika, if you didn't get anything, please ask me later. So Ritika, till where you are getting in your exam?
Turtle respiration.
Till respiration. And Amar, Godwin, you? Godwin, what about you?
Sir, till lymph.
Till lymph. Okay, we are trying to complete the respiration by today. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Sir, excuse
Yeah.
me, sir. I
Yes.
just now saw the message. My class teacher just now posted that science monthly test syllabus would be only chemical reactions. And school teachers were telling that till respiration we would be having our syllabus.
Okay, so we'll do till respiration. Like till respiration, we will do. Okay? So that your work should not be difficult. Okay? Okay, done. Now write stages of respiration. So quickly write it down. Stages of respiration. Stages of respiration. Write it down. Respiration occurs in two stages. Respiration occurs in two stages. The first is external respiration. The first is external respiration, and the second is internal respiration. The second is internal respiration. So, in external respiration, write it down. External respiration, write it down. Bracket के अंदर breathing. Breathing. So breathing is basically the external respiration. We are taking breathe in, breathe out. Okay. In breathe in, we are taking oxygen, and breathing out is taking out the carbon dioxide. So basically, what we are doing when we are breathing it out, so the carbon dioxide, which is formed inside the mitochondria, it will go into the blood, then it will go to the lungs, and it will expel out. Are you getting this? So where our body create the carbon dioxide? By the breaking down of glucose in the presence of oxygen, so that we can get carbon dioxide and then it will expel out from our body. Are you getting this? Say yes or no. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now write internal respiration. And internal respiration occurs inside the cell. So the respiration which occurs inside the cell, so that glucose can be break down, is called as internal respiration. So Godwin, your doubt is clear? You have doubt in this?
Clear, sir.
Clear? Okay. Now we'll read this. Who will read? Godwin will read. Yes, Godwin, please read this.
Sir, from where?
From here, beta, page number 87.
We have discussed nutrition in organisms in the last section. The food material taken in during the process of nutrition is used in cells to provide energy for various life processes Some use oxygen to break down glucose completely into carbon dioxide and water. Some use other pathways that do not involve oxygen. In all cases, the first step is the breakdown of glucose, a six-carbon molecule, into a three-carbon molecule called pyruvate. This process takes place in cytoplasm. Further, the
Underline
pyruvate
this.
may be
Quickly underline this. Quickly underline this. This is important line. What is the important line? That where said diverse organisms. In all cases, the first step is the breakdown of glucose, a six-carbon molecule, into the three-carbon molecule called as pyruvate, and this process takes place in cytoplasm. So many times it came as a question. It came as a question in the exam that where the taking out of glucose into the pyruvate happens in mitochondria, in cytoplasm, in lymphocytes, or in wherever. So the answer is cytoplasm. Yes, read this.
Further, the pyruvate may be converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. This process takes place in yeast during fermentation. Since this process takes place in the absence of air or oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. Breakdown of pyruvate using oxygen takes place in the mitochondria. This process breaks up the three-carbon pyruvate molecule to give three molecules of carbon dioxide. The other product is water. Since this process takes place in the presence of air, oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. The release of energy in this aerobic process is a lot greater than in the anaerobic process. Sometimes when there is a lack of oxygen in our muscle cells, another pathway for the breakdown of pyruvate is taken. Here the pyruvate is converted into lactic acid, which is also a three-carbon molecule. This buildup of lactic acid in our muscles during sudden activity causes cramps.
Yeah, and this diagram puts it a 5 star, like GTA Vice City 5 star. So 5 star because this is very important for the examination point of view. They can ask you what do you mean by internal respiration and how it happens. You have to make this diagram and then you have to explain it like we have read just before. Okay.
Sir, if they ask us what is respiration, should we draw this diagram?
If it is 5 marks question, and if they will say that what is respiration, how it happens in three different forms, explain it in detail, then you have to make the diagram also, and then you have to make like these all the things that we have read just before.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now read this.
The energy released during cellular respiration is immediately used to synthesize a molecule called ATP, which is used to fuel all other activities in the cell. In these processes, ATP is broken down, giving rise to a fixed amount of energy which can drive the endothermic reactions taking place in the cell.
Yeah. So, what is endothermic reaction? Means the reaction which happens when energy is provided into it. So, when ATP is stored, when ATP is formed, then if for example, if I have to do movement, so for movement, like cells needs energy, that energy is the endothermic for them. Means the ATP will break down, it will go to the cell and say that you use this energy. This is called as endothermic reaction. Now, what is ATP? So, read this, please.
ATP is the energy currency for most cellular processes. The energy released during the process of respiration is used to make an ATP molecule from
Hmm.
ADP, inorganic phosphate.
Yeah. So
ATP
ATP. Yeah, read this.
endothermic processes in the cell then use this ATP to drive the reactions. When the terminal phosphate linkage in ATP is broken using water, the energy equivalent to 30.5 kilomole is released. Staying of our battery can provide energy for many different kinds of uses. It can be used to obtain mechanical energy, light energy, electrical energy, and so on. Similarly, ATP can be used in the cells for the contraction of muscles, protein synthesis, conduction of nerves impulses, and many other activities.
Yeah. So like ATP is basically it is called as adenosine triphosphate. You can write it down at the top of your copy. ATP is equals to adenosine AD AD ADENOSINE adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine
Yes,
triphosphate. ADENOSINE
and
adenosine triphosphate. Phosphate. Yes, Deepika. Can you read it from here? Deepika, are you there? Just read it.
Yes, sir. Since the aerobic respiration pathway depends on oxygen, aerobic organism needs to ensure that there is significant
Sufficient.
intake of. Sir, did you say anything?
Sufficient. It is sufficient, not significant.
Sufficient intake of oxygen. We have seen the plants exchange gases, those stomata, and the large intercellular spaces ensure that all cells are in contact with air, carbon dioxide of oxygen, and exchanged by diffusion here. They can go into cells or away from them and out into the air. The direction of diffusion depends upon the environment condition and the requirements of the plants. At night, when there is no photosynthesis occurring, CO2 elimination is the major exchange activity going on. During the day, CO2 generates during respiration is used up for photosynthesis. Hence, there is no CO2 released. Instead, oxygen release is major event at this time.
Yeah,
Animals have
so
internal.
they can ask you that why it is danger to sleep in night under the tree. Okay, because under when in the night, because there is no photosynthesis happening, and if no photosynthesis happening, so they are taking oxygen in the night. Plants are taking oxygen in the night and releasing carbon dioxide, which can give you like the what we say, um, like you will not get enough air to breathe, and you may feel unconscious. Are you getting this? Say yes or no.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
So
Yes.
in night they releases carbon dioxide, which is you're not getting sufficient amount of oxygen, and you may feel unconsciousness in the night. That is why do not sleep under the tree. This will be the question.
Sir, but in the
Are you
starting
getting
of the chapter, it is said that CO2 is taken at the night only.
in desert plant only, but not all the plants. In only the desert plant because they have to survive. They have to take care of the water. So in desert plants, yes, in desert plants also releases oxygen in the night.
Intake of
Okay, but
oxygen
it
is intake of CO2 is there in desert plant at night or release? Both.
no only release. Only release of oxygen is there in the night. Means because they are doing their photosynthesis in the night, not in the day.
Yes.
So that's why it is called a C4 cycle. Means everything is ulta. So in the day they release carbon dioxide. They release carbon dioxide, and in the night they release oxygen.
And in normal plants, CO2 is
In
released at
normal
night.
plants, CO2 released in the night because no photosynthesis is happening. Because they have enough water, they do their photosynthesis there only in the daytime. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Now write it down. Exchange of gases in plants. Quickly write it down. Exchange of gases in the plant. Quickly write down. And write first part in leaves. In leaves. In leaves. Write it down. In leaves, in leaves, gaseous exchange takes place. Gaseous exchange takes place by the by the diffusion of oxygen by the diffusion of oxygen through stomata into the cell. Through stomata into the cell.
Of oxygen.
Of oxygen through stomata into the cells. So means plants exchange their gas by the leaves, and in the leaves they have stomata and they exchange their gas. So in the daytime they take carbon dioxide and release oxygen, and in the night they will take oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Are you getting this? Say yes or
Yes.
no? Okay. Now second part. In roots. In roots. Exchange of gases. Exchange of gases in the roots of a plant. In the roots of the plants takes place takes place by the root hairs by the root hairs by the root hairs through the diffusion of through the diffusion of oxygen through the diffusion of oxygen of the air of the air present between the soil present between the soil present
Present
between the
between the
soil. So in this, they take carbon dioxide, they take oxygen, means normal respiration they do. Root hairs part. Okay, so it is a story. So basically, I learned the gardening recent, not now. Like when I was kid, nearly about 14 years old, then I learned. Okay, so I took one kadi patta. You know kadi patta?
Yes, sir.
So so in that curry patta, I brought a plant from a store, and then I planted it in the clay soil. You know clay soil, clay. Okay, it becomes clumsy clay soil. So now what happened that in starting times the curry patta is growing well because of the manure and everything was good. But in the not I will say in the winter times when there is no sun rays or less sun rays is there, because of that the water inside the clay soil it is not dried up, and because if it is not dried up, so you will see that the soil will become like a rock because it's not dried up. So if it is become like a rock, so the roots will not have air to breathe, and if roots will have not air to breathe, the root cells will die, as the plants will die. Then one of my brothers says that when you are putting into the clay soil, you have to mix it with some sand also, because if sand will be there, then what will happen, the sand will create a air between them, because sand has big particles, clay has small particles. If we will mix it, so sand will help them to put a air between the soil so that root hairs can breathe. Then I do that, and now the kadi patta is going to. Are you getting this? Yes or no? Okay, now third part is stem. In stem, in woody plant,
Sir, in
write it down. In woody plant, in woody plant, Exchange of gas occurs through the exchange of gas occurs through the small pores through the small pores on stems on stem called called lenticels called lenticels called lenticels. So I told you about lenticels also. I show that photo also, that some small pores are there through which this do the this thing. Respiration in plants is much slower than the respiration in animal. Why? The reason is, in animals like we have nose, we are doing the respiration through nose only. We are taking the breathing in, breathing out like that. But in plants, leaf has his own exchange of gas, root has his own exchange of gas, stem has his own exchange of gas. So because of that, the rate of respiration in plants is slower as compared to animals. So they can ask you this question, that why. What was I'm saying? What was I'm saying, guys?
Why?
What was I'm saying?
So you are saying why
One,
plants
well,
respiration is
huh,
slower than animals.
yeah, yeah. Why the respiration in plants is slower than the respiration in animal? So write it down. All the parts of a plant, all the parts of a plant
All
perform
the
parts, parts, P-A-R-T-S, parts of a plant performs respiration individually. Respiration individually. However, animal performs respiration as a single unit. However, animal performs respiration as a single unit.
however
Animal perform respiration in a single unit. Now put heading exchange of gases, exchange of gases in animal. Put a heading exchange of gases in animal. Put a heading exchange of gases in animal. Are you with me, guys? Say yes or no. Write it down. In aquatic animal. In aquatic animal.
exchange of gases
In animals. In animals. Exchange of gases in animals. And the first point under this heading is, first point is aquatic animals. So aquatic animals aquatic animals intake their oxygen through gills. Aquatic animals take their oxygen through gills, through gills. Okay. Oxygen, oxygen, which is dissolved in water, which is dissolved in water, they use that. They use that. Means the aquatic animals, they get their oxygen intake. Okay. Whatever the oxygen which is dissolved in water, they take that oxygen. Are you getting this? Say yes or no. They get all the oxygen in their in them by the dissolved water. So did you observe that the breathing rate of, like, do you know fish? Huh? Not on the dinner table, I'm saying. In the fish tank. Huh? You know fish?
Yes.
Hmm? So if you will observe the fish, okay, so the fish, the breathing rate will be very high. It's like this. Huh? Like Labrador, when Labrador is just moving the tongue out like that when Labrador is doing, na? Hmm? The breathing rate of fish is very, very high. You know why? Anybody wants to give the answer? Why the breathing rate of a fish or the aquatic animal is high as compared to the terrestrial animals? So, for example, we have lungs, and like we 21% of oxygen is present in the atmosphere. So we take oxygen. We don't have oxygen deficiency, so we take oxygen in correct amount and we get it. Okay, but if I will talk about fishes or aquatic animals, they have high breathing rate. You know why? Because they have dissolved oxygen. Which oxygen? Dissolved oxygen. So if I will take out H2O, so H2O, water, they are living in water, na? So in that water, they are using that O part. And even that, in that 2:1 ratio is there. Means two molecule of hydrogen is there and one molecule of oxygen is there. So they have only one molecule of oxygen in the water. So that's why they have high breathing rate. Are you getting this?
But can you repeat?
Okay, first I will repeat in Hindi, then I will repeat in English. Okay. So क्वेश्चन ये है कि एक्वेटिक एनिमल्स का ब्रीदिंग रेट हाई क्यों होता है? सिंपल एज दैट. तो इसका आंसर ये है कि जो पानी के अंदर रहते हैं एक्वेटिक एनिमल्स, पानी को हम कैसे लिखते हैं? H2O के फॉर्म में लिखते हैं. और H2O को अगर हम निकालें तो दो मॉलिक्यूल है हाइड्रोजन के और एक मॉलिक्यूल है ऑक्सीजन का. अब उनके पास पहले ही पानी के अंदर ऑक्सीजन की कमी है और ऊपर से उनको एक ही मॉलिक्यूल मिल रहा है ऑक्सीजन का. तो इसलिए उनको फटाफट लेना पड़ेगा ना, ताकि अपने शरीर की भरपूरी कर पाए ऑक्सीजन से. इसलिए वो फटाफट सांस लेते हैं. पर हम जो टेरेस्ट्रियल में रहते हैं, हमारे पास बहुत सारे ऑक्सीजन है, तो हमें फटाफट सांस लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. नाउ फॉर गॉडविन. Godwin, the question is why the aquatic animals have higher breathing rate than the terrestrial animals. It is, the answer is that the animals which are living in the aquatic, they doesn't have sufficient amount of oxygen. Okay, like they are taking oxygen from water. If I will write water, it is in the form of H2O, means two molecule of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen. So obviously they have less amount of oxygen is there in the water. That's why they breathe fast, so that they can fulfill their need of oxygen inside the body. Got it, Godwin?
Yes, sir.
Now write it down this question. Why the breathing rate of aquatic animals, why the breathing rate of aquatic animals, why the breathing rate of aquatic animals is higher than is higher than the terrestrial animals. The terrestrial animals. Now write it down. Write it down. The rate of breathing in aquatic animals the rate of breathing in aquatic animals is much faster is much faster than the terrestrial organism than the terrestrial organism. This happens this happens because this happens because aquatic organism this happens because aquatic organism utilize utilize oxygen utilize the oxygen utilize the oxygen dissolved in water dissolved in water dissolved in water for respiration where the amount of dissolved water is fairly low for respiration the amount of dissolved water the amount of dissolved is fairly low
Is
so the amount of dissolved oxygen is fairly low as compared to the amount of oxygen as compared to the amount of oxygen in the air as compared to the amount of oxygen in the air. Kritika got it?
Yes, sir.
Mummy? Oh, mummy! Okay, done? Yes or no? So they have to use it in very high pressure. Okay, now read this quickly. Quickly read this terrestrial organism. Anybody, quickly unmute your mic and say.
terrestrial organisms use the oxygen in the atmosphere for respiration. This oxygen is absorbed by different organs in different animals. All these organs have a structure that increases the surface area which is in contact with the oxygen-rich atmosphere. Since the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide has to take place across the surface, this surface is very fine and delicate. In order to protect this surface, it is usually placed within the body. So there have to be passages that will take air to this area. In addition, there is a mechanism for moving the air in and out of this area where the oxygen is absorbed. In human beings, air is taken into the body through
So now
the nose.
I will teach you the this part and the writing part I will send you. You guys write it down in your copy. Okay. So I will teach you the human beings, the respiration, how it happens quickly so that our course like till here will complete. Okay. So now first is you can see that we have nasal passage. Okay, so this chidra, this shade, this hole is called as nostril. Okay, it is called as what? Nostril. And through nostril, we take oxygen inside. Okay, through nostril, what we take oxygen inside. So the oxygen will go Okay, I will take a purple pen. The oxygen will go into the nasal passage, then it will go to the pharynx. Now, what is pharynx? Pharynx is like it's a tube like structure. It is also called as windpipe through which the air will go inside. So, if I am breathing in, now it's in nostril, in the nasal passage, then it is in the pharynx part. Okay. So you will see this that we have, if you will touch your neck here, so you will find it out there is a rings is there. Means rings of bones are there. If you will feel it here, so because I have lots of fat, I can't feel it, but you guys it doesn't have lots of fat. So you can feel this that here it is a bones are there. It's like a ring like this. It is called as ring cartilage, rings of cartilage. Now, what is the use of rings of cartilage? The pharynx, it's like a cloth, wet cloth. Okay, so when we inhale or when we exhale it, if rings of cartilage is not there, then the pharynx will collapse and the air will not go and the air will not come. So the pharynx are embedded in the rings of cartilage so that the pharynx will not collapse while breathing. Are you getting this? Say yes or no. So you can see this is rings of cartilage is there. Okay. Now larynx. Larynx is basically called as the sound box. Larynx is called as what? Sound box. Okay. Are you getting this? Say yes or no. Okay. Now, uh, where like we our nasal passage and our food pipe is have the common line till I guess pharynx. Let me check. Let me check. Food
Sir,
pipe.
what is mouth cavity and pharynx?
Uh,
Sir, what is mouth cavity and pharynx?
yeah, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Okay. So basically, see the mouth cavity. Like sometimes we take air from mouth also, na, and sometimes from our nose also. So they have same passage till the place it is called as epiglottis. Okay, it is called as epiglottis. So it is truth. It is truth that you can't make your tongue out, and you can not take um, uh, you can't breathe. If your tongue is out, you can't breathe. This is a fact. Okay. Uh, Okay, you can try it also. Like tongues out and you can't breathe. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can you do it? Tongues out and breathing?
Sir, if you put your tongue out, we can breathe now.
No, you can't. It's a fact.
Yes, sir, we can breathe.
Okay, so it's like it's looking like a Labrador. Okay, so what was I'm trying to say is you can do it. Okay, it's just a joke. Okay, so like what is epiglottis? So epiglottis is like a flap. Okay, so it is truth that when you are swallowing it, you can't breathe. This is truth. Okay, when you swallow something, so in that swallowing part, you can't breathe. You can try this. Okay, when you swallow it, you can't breathe. Okay, for that moment the breathing should be stopped. Why? Because Right now, the epiglottis is there. Okay, when we swallow it, this epiglottis will cover the windpipe. It will cover what? Windpipe. Now, the air will not go in the windpipe, so that the food which we are eating while swallowing it, it won't go into the lungs. So epiglottis is a flap-like structure which cover the windpipe or the trachea. Trachea is also called as windpipe. Okay, trachea is called as windpipe. So it will cover the trachea, and the food will go into the stomach, not in the windpipe, not in the lungs. Okay, so this junction is basically called as pharynx. Okay, then trachea is the windpipe. Now the air will go, and it will divide into two lungs. Okay, into two lungs. That division is called as bronchi. The division is called as what? Bronchi. The place where the trachea, the windpipe, divide into two parts, into the two lungs, it is called as bronchi. What it is called? It is called as bronchi. Then it will divide it further like a branches of a trees. Okay, that is called as bronchioles. And then then it become like a balloon like structure. It is called as alveoli, and in alveoli there is a blood vessels are there, so that oxygen will go inside the blood vessels and carbon dioxide will come. It's gonna be look like this. Are you getting this? Okay, like in the alveoli there are blood vessels are attached to it, so that oxygen will go inside and carbon dioxide will come out of it, and we will expel it. Are you
Sir,
getting
if
this?
a question comes where the exchange of oxygen happens in our body, so it will
In
be
the
the
alveoli.
और आप नहीं चलोगे फिर
In the alveoli चलेंगे
कब
8:30.
8:30 तो मेरा गेम है ना आज
तो वो मुझे नहीं पता, 8:30 बजे तो जाना ही पड़ेगा ना, मेरे क्लास है ना सारे।
यार आज आज तो कर ही सकते
क्लास है
तो कल कर लेना एक्स्ट्रा
कैसे कर लूंगा कल, एक्स्ट्रा इनके एग्जाम से कल
मैं कैसे जाऊंगा
कैसे, कितने बजे?
8 बजे है मेरे
तो पहले कर लो तुम लोग अपना गेम, 7 बजे कर लो।
तो लोग हैं, तो 8 बजे आएंगे ना
तो फिर कुछ नहीं कर सकते, 8 साढ़े 8 बजे निकलना पड़ेगा।
तो
मैं
पहले बोलना था ना
तो टाइम तो 8:30 ही होगा ना, उससे पहले कैसे होगा? तुम्हें पता है मेरा वेडनेसडे गिटार क्लास है।
गिटार क्लास को तो नहीं कर लेंगे हम कल कर लेंगे परसों कर लेंगे कल नहीं
तो फिर
तो और कौन सी क्लास है
तो अभी 7 साढ़े 7 तो ही चलेगा क्लास, और हमें आधे घंटे में जाके तो आएंगे नहीं।
तो लेट चल लेनी है
कितने बजे चलना?
9 9:30 से
9:30 बजे जाओगे, 10 बजे तक वो दुकान ही बंद हो जाएगी। 9 बजे से चल सकते, ज्यादा 9 सवा 9 पे चल सकते।
9 9:15 से
चलो रेडी रहना, फिर मुझे नहीं बोलना। ओके, alveoli is the balloon like structure, okay, that will bring the oxygen in and carbon dioxide will go out. Got it? Exchange of gas occurs. Are you getting this? Say yes or no.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what the human respiratory system look like. So we'll end this class. Okay, we'll do more in deep tomorrow, but just for the Godwin, because we have completed the respiration. So for Godwin, you just read this paragraph. If you have doubt, then tomorrow you can ask me, or you can ask me in the night. I will put the in the I will reply you privately. Okay, understood,
Yes,
Godwin?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll end this class. I hope you've enjoyed the class. Till then, bye. Have a nice day. Sayonara. Bye bye.